Hello my friends, today in this video I will show you how to carve a mandibular second premolar tooth from a saw block. Here is the dimensions as always. The crown length is 8.2 millimeters, the root length is 14.7 millimeters, and when we multiply by 3 the crown becomes 24.6 and the root becomes 44.1, so it's in total length 68.7 millimeters. The faciolingual or labiolingual dimension is 8.2 millimeters, just same with the mesiodistal dimension, and just same with the crown length, and the mesiodistal dimension is 7.1 millimeters. So for this tooth, the shortest dimension, crown dimension, is mesiodistal dimension, and the crown length and labiolingual dimensions are almost same. So here is a block of the needed dimensions. This will be our mesiodistal face surface, and this will be the buccolingual surface, and this is the crown length. So as always, I'm starting with the cervical line, and here is my modeling spatulas. Cervical line is here. This is the crown length line, so just next to it we are carving the cervical line. So the cervical line is primarily shaped, and I am making the labial surface contour of the tooth. Please remember, the lower premolar teeth are a little bit tilted to lingual side, so the buccal contour crest is located just next to the cervical line in this area. Then we will make a curve for the buccal surface to lean the crown toward the lingual side. So here is the approximal surface, and I think this should be maybe the distal side and this should be the mesial side. So now the lingual surface, cervical line curvature. This side of the soap block is harder than the other side, so be careful about it. The labiolingual dimension is longer than the mesiodistal dimension, and we have a cusp tip It's a premolar tooth, remember. The cusp tip is not so pointy. The cusp is rounder than the mandibular first premolar. For the mandibular first, please remember there was a sharp buccal cusp tip and a non-functional lingual cusp. But for this tooth, cusp tip is more rounded, but the lingual at the lingual side there are two cusps, not one, and both of them are well developed and functional cusps. So in contrast with the first premolar, there will be two cusps, and because of the presence of two cusps in the lingual side, the occlusal table outline is more square-like. Please remember there was only one non-functional small cusp in the mandibular first premolar, so the tooth was getting smaller, narrower through the lingual side. But for this tooth, we have two functional cusps, so the approximal surface is not getting narrow through the lingual side, and the occlusal table outline is more like square rather than a triangle. This is the mesial slope and this is the distal slope of the labial cusp tip. And the contour crests in the mesial and distal side are almost at the same level in this tooth. Maybe the distal contour crest should be a little bit cervically placed, located, but we can say in general they are almost at the same level. There is not too much difference between the levels of mesial and distal contour crest. And the lingual contour crest is located more occlusally in these teeth. So I am making the cervical line deeper, and by carrying the lingual contour crest up to this level. mesial and distal side we have broad, large curvatures, contours, and large contact points. This is a rounded shaped tooth in all aspects. The function of this tooth is mostly chewing, in contrast with the first premolar. The first premolar is used for mostly tearing apart. It is used to help the function of the canine tooth, but the second premolars are more focused on chewing function, so their anatomy, their morphology is specialized for chewing mostly. So the first premolars are mostly, we can say, canine-like teeth, but the second premolars are mostly molar-like morphology. So the outline of our crown is almost done. All the contour crests are located at the correct positions. The crown is tilted a little bit to lingual side, and there is a buccal ridge here, but this ridge is also not prominent as the ridge of canine or buccal ridge of first premolar tooth. The ridge is also a little bit smooth, rounded. Okay. Before carving the occlusal surface, before making the cusps, we can carve the root beforehand. This side will be the distal side. I have decided that and so the root is stronger than the first premolar root. Please remember, especially in the mesiodistal direction, the root of first premolar was very thin, but for this tooth the root is stronger and wider. And more convex surfaces the root have. Yeah, I had a mistake here, you see. But it's okay, I can fix it. A bigger root we have, I told. The root apex is blunt, not too pointy, and it is tilted a little bit to the distal side, and we don't have such deep depressions on the root surface like the first premolar. We can have a small depression, a shallow depression in the distal side of the root, but not as much as the first premolar, never. You know, for the first premolar there was really deep depressions, and Sometimes these depressions combine in the mesial and distal surfaces and make the tooth with two roots, split the root sometimes in the first premolar, but for the second we don't have those. So I am tilting the root apex to the distal side, as you can see here. And you see the lingual contour crest will extend the lingual surface of the root. It will stay at the buccal side of the lingual border of the root. The root has convex surfaces. It doesn't become too thin through the lingual side. It keeps its size, and with a blunt rounded eye apex the root ends. It is a longer and stronger root than the first premolar root. And here is the blunt root apex. Okay. So I am redefining the cervical line here now. Cervical line curvature crests in the approximal surfaces is not deep anymore. They are more flat than the anterior teeth, you know that. When we go from anterior to posterior, these cervical line curvature crests become shallow, and it is more shallow in the distal side when compared to mesial side all the time. So you can see how the crown looks a little bit leaned to lingual direction. Of course, you all know that the cervical line transition area is the most difficult part of tooth carving. A nice and smooth cervical line transition, and also we call it as cemento-enamel junction. It's not so easy to make it. You have to be patient and really careful. You know, sometimes I'm using my fingernail to make the transition area better. Okay. So I am making the surface smooth using my fingers and defining the cervical line. Using the fingernail. So it seems good enough now. After a good polishing, it will be better. Now you see we have a mostly square form, occlusal table now, and we will make our cusps now. So there can be really shallow developmental depressions in the buccal surface. Yes, that's it. Okay, the crown length is okay. So we have typically two cusps on the lingual side and one cusp in the buccal side. And then at the lingual side, the mesiolingual cusp is bigger and the distolingual cusp is smaller. And we have a central fossa here, central groove, and these are the buccal extensions of the groove, and this will be the lingual extension. So we have a Y, letter Y shaped groove here, and that will be our guide for shaping the triangular ridge and triangular fossa and everything. So I am starting with the triangular ridge of buccal cusp, and this will be the mesiolingual and this will be the distolingual cusp. So there will be three cusps here. As you can see, the three cusps at the occlusal surface is slowly appearing. This is the buccal cusp, this is mesiolingual, and this one is distolingual cusp. So slowly by slowly the cusps are appearing now. So we have an extension here, extension of the lingual groove that separates the lingual cusps, and marginal ridges are not so cervically inclined in this tooth. In maxillary first premolar, please remember there was a groove extending the mesial marginal ridge in the mesial side, and the mesial marginal ridge was a little bit cervically oriented, but in this tooth the marginal ridges are almost perpendicular to the long axis of the tooth. So we have nice little cusps here in the lingual side, and a big cusp there in the buccal side. Maybe making the lingual cusps a little bit smaller should be better, can be better, excuse me. Okay, where is my brush? Here is my brush. So, when we look at the occlusal surface from distal view, distal aspect, we see the more of occlusal surface from the distal side and less from the mesial side. Okay, I am redefining the fossa, fissures and pits. The occlusal surface, but maybe it will be better to put the final shape after a little bit hardening of the soap, because the soap is soft now. It's not so easy to show the definitive lines here with the soft soap. Here you can see the bigger cusp in the lingual side, the smaller one, the buccal cusp, and the marginal ridge perpendicular to the long axis. Lingual contracrest is located here occlusally, and the buccal contracrest is located a little bit cervically. A strong root with a blunt apex. The root apex is a little bit tilted to the distal side, and mesial and distal contracrests are located almost at the same level. We have a rounded tip end of a cusp, and this is now a really nice mandibular second premolar tooth. And the occlusal surface, as I told, it is better maybe to wait for the soap to getting harder, a little bit dry. But now it is dry enough for an experienced hand. Okay, here you can see maybe this groove here should be a little more deeper. Okay, this is the groove that is separating the cusps, lingual cusps, and the lingual side. Okay, so I like it, really nice. Really nice mandibular second premolar. Okay, let me remove this soap here. A nice and easy one. So that was the mandibular second premolar. Take it easy, and I wish you success and luck with your work. I know you are getting better and better from the day after day. So keep working hard, and see for yourself how better you are getting. Okay. See you. Bye bye.